Okay, so David, how are you?
I'm good, yourself?
I'm not too bad. So let's start from the beginning. Where did you grow up?
So I was born in the same hospital as Stan Laurel, famous Scottish comedian, double act, and then I was in Torry Glen for like a baby, and then I moved to Dunmarnock up until I was about 12, and then moved to Bridgeton, and I've been back and forth from Bridgeton ever since. Stayed in the city centre for a bit, but now I'm in the south side, so that's a bit of a kick in the teeth for somebody that's been in the East End their whole life. Glaswegians will know what I'm talking about, but no, I'm liking it. I'm enjoying it.
And tell me about your early life. When did you first get into the MMA?
Well, even, this is going to sound mental, but as I went, my mum says I would perk up, like if there was like a Bruce Lee movie on or something, I would just like perk up. She thought that was a good thing to be encouraged, so she'd sit me in front of the telly and I'd be sitting there watching it, or like nature documentaries, it was those two, and I'd just be fascinated, and it's a good thing to be encouraged, so that's what I was sat in front of. And then just obsessively done me fighting my whole life, like cousins, pals, just non-stop up until like recent times. As soon as I was coming to your house, we were having a roll a bit. So, and then 3.5 years old, my mum put me in taekwondo, and she told the instructor that I was 4. I was still 3, but it was a bit soft nature, a bit too nice natured. My mum thought, he's fucked, we better get him training, so she put me in taekwondo. So for 3.5, for 8.5 years I did that, from 3.5 to like 12 and a bit. That's how it started, anyway, that's how it started.
And you still continue with the MMA to this day?
Still continue with that. So taekwondo for 8.5 years, and done a bit of on and off boxing at the Scott Harrison's gym. But I was training under Scott Harrison's dad, coach, as well. I didn't know until I left and I watched a Scott Harrison documentary. I was like, fuck, that was his dad the entire time. I never knew that. A few months of like on and off boxing, as I say, or a few years of on and off boxing. A bunch of different random classes like taekwondo, Wing Chun, it's like kung fu, jiu-jitsu, judo. My jiu-jitsu competition, which I took part in about a year ago, I had 0 jiu-jitsu. I had maybe done 10 classes, and I was just messing about doing random bits and bobs that I picked up. I actually won that competition just with random shit, because jiu-jitsu players have a set way of doing things, like you move from here to there and whatever. I was doing random shit, I didn't even know what I was doing, and I ended up winning. So 15 years old, I started at a gym called the Hybrid Fight Academy, so I was there for a good 10 years, and that's when I got into stunts and stuff as well, because my old coach at the time, he done a bunch of stuff, stunt stuff. He stunt doubled for Luke Goss, and he trained under a guy called Buster Reeves, who was a high Hollywood stunt dude. And he also done a bit of training with Dan Inosanto, who was Bruce Lee's best pal, actually, the guy that introduced Bruce Lee to the nunchucks. So Bruce Lee taught a guy who taught me, which was pretty cool. And then the same with the Hollywood stunts, like Buster Reeves taught a guy who was teaching me. So it's a bit of cool lineage there. So I was there for like 10 years. And now I'm at the Grip House. I've been there for a year and a bit, on and off. And I've been doing trekking and parkour. I've literally been climbing anything and everything since I was a kid as well. So I was always mixing like fighting and climbing. That's all I ever did. I was either rolling about or I was just in me. Just ADHD to fuck. Just too much energy. I used to tear the house apart and make an assault course out of it. Like my mum just couldn't calm me down. And then I'd actually done a show with the National Theatre of Scotland. It's called Jump. It's like a parkour performance thing. So it's always something I've been into.
And in terms of the mixed martial arts, have you competed competitively?
So 17 years old, I had my first cage fight, and I was like, I thought I was Bruce Lee. I thought whoever they put me in their way, I was just going to karate chop them in the neck and they were going to go down like a sack of spud. So I booked my first fight. It was like 70 kilos, and but I wasn't training like properly at all. Like, I was missing training. Like, I was 17-year-old, didn't have the best discipline. Like fucking up my diet, like, and then I fell sick the week before the fight, so I lost so much weight. By the time I actually rocked up, I was like 63 kilos. The guy I was meant to be fighting didn't show up. It was a guy 72 kilos, so it was a bit of a weight difference. He was like 72 kilos, I was like 63, but yeah, I didn't know who I was fighting, because as I say, my original guy pulled out. So I'm in the ring, I'm the octagon, I'm getting warmed up, and I see these people coming my way, and I'm like, oh, must be the wee one, similar to my size. The big dude takes his fucking top off, like head to toe and tattoos. I'm like, oh, but I ended up winning. But I had my cousin in my corner, and it was my mum and our boyfriend was with me as well, but my cousin was in the corner, who he knows nothing about fighting. He's done a bit of taekwondo himself, but I remember in between rounds saying to him, like, oh, I know you've no done any of this, but any advice? And he was, oh, just kick his cunt in. So I ended up winning that fight, and since then I've fought on TV, fought for belts, fought for the European Amateur title, the Battle Arena. But I was always torn between fighting and film stuff. So really, when I left school, I wanted to be a vet my whole life. I know it sounds a bit off topic, but I wanted to be a vet or a fishmonger or in the military. I'd done work experience for all of them, and I was like, you know what, they're not for me. And really, with the vet work experience, I went there and I seen a Jack Russell getting finger blasted. Like, they were checking his anal glands, and I was just like, there's no way I'm studying like 7 years to fucking do that. You couldn't pay me to do that. So I was like, fuck, I'm already part of this MMA gym and stunt team. I was like, why don't I spent a lot of time sort of meditating at my sort of last few months of school, and I was thinking to myself, maybe I'll just do that full time. There's nothing else I'd rather do. You know what I mean? I'll just strive towards being doing cage fighting and film work, and use those skills, to make money for fighting and filming, and I'll use the money for that to do conservation projects, because I've always been into nature. So the goal, as I say, was to train to do the cage fighting and film work, use the money for that to do conservation projects. So I made this game plan, and that's what I did. So I left school and I was inspired by a guy called Elliot Hulse. You talked about the call to adventure, and Bruce Lee writing that letter to himself. He wrote this letter to himself. It was like a manifestation letter, and I got this family friend that got me into the law of attraction, Jackie Ewigs. She's amazing. She's like a wee angel in my life. Alan Watts talking about what would you do if money was no object. I was like, fuck it, you know what, if money was no object, this is exactly what I'd be doing. So that's what I chose to do, and since then I've just been living my best life. And I've done a lot of cool shit since then, but I was always torn between, as I say, fighting and film stuff. So when I was concentrating on fighting, I was like, but I really want to do the film stuff. When I was doing the film stuff, I was like, I'm still choking for a fight. So I done the West Highland Way and Ben Nevis solo, and I was like, when I come back for that, I'm just going to fucking decide. And I just decided to do both. So after all that, so I'm going to juggle both of them. Yeah.
And with the kind of the stunt work and kind of fighting scenes, it's almost like a combination. You're combining the two disciplines. And tell me about your first project, your first acting job, or your first stunt work.
It was in a thing called Bloodline. I don't think it ever got released properly, but I had the wee girl in Braveheart, but she was an adult then, but I played a dead guy, so I was just a wee dead guy in the corner, but it was fun being on set. Since then I've done just bigger and bigger stuff. I've done a fight scene in Vigilante Diaries with Michael Jai White and Rampage Jackson, so that was fun. And then I was in a zombie movie, Redcon 1, that was filmed in the Barrowlands. And then I've done some movies on Amazon Prime, like Holiday Monday and Lock and Load, so I've done the choreography for some of them as well, so that was good fun. And as I say, the MMA training and the stunt training are like really similar, so I mixed the MMA and this thing called tricking, which is kind of like gymnastics mixed with taekwondo, so I'm juggling both of them, and it just works beautifully. There's nothing else I'd rather be doing.
And do you have any projects coming up?
I've got a bunch of stuff on the go. So I've not actually had a day off in like 7 weeks, which is a way I love to be. I've got my routine down. I like wake up, I meditate, I run to work, I'm working, I run to training, run home, stretch, shower, eat, sleep, repeat, and that's just my life. And the only exceptions to that is like either fighting or film stuff. So I'm just all go there now. So and I promised my wife, just like, give me 3 years just to, because I barely see her, we live together and we barely see each other. I was like, just give me 3 years to go bananas and I'm just going to give you the best life ever. So that's another game changer, meeting a good woman. So Megan, we got married like about 6 months ago, and she just literally does everything for me, and that just allows me to literally just focus on work, train, sleep, repeat, and it's just made such a difference. Like my productivity's just shot through the roof, and I couldn't ask for a better woman, and it has been like really fundamental in my productivity, as I say.
So she's been very, very understanding,
very
facilitates it a lot. Yeah.
Well, she knew what I was like for the get-go,
Yeah,
so she knew what she was
knew
getting
what she was
herself
getting
into. So,
yeah.
plus I've got too much energy. If we're in the house for more than 2 days together, like I drive her crazy. I've got far too much energy, so it works well. Monday to Saturday I go bananas. Sunday I try and have a day with us. But as I say, stunt stuff usually comes up on a Sunday or something. So we barely see each other, but you know, it works. It works for now. I've got far too much energy to sit idle anyway, so yeah.
And the kind of stunt work and the fighting, that would suggest someone who's got quite, would you say, possibly you're an adrenaline junkie or enthusiast?
Definitely. Like I've done like bungee jumping and skydiving and anything you want. Nothing will ever touch when you've been in that octagon in front of all the people, especially if it's on TV. God knows how many people are watching. But to train for somebody who's also been training for you, and you're in your fucking pants with a cup on, and it's like a fight to the death if the referee's not there, do you know what I mean? The referees are pretty good, to be fair. It's only amateur, I should say, the cage fighting, but nothing ever really, so it's addictive. You end up in there just as much as you can really, just to catch that buzz. But aye, definitely. A lot of it was encouraged by my mum as well. Like, she never wanted me to fight. But you know, I think most kids, parents, if they see them climbing something, they're like, get down. Whereas my mum would be like, no, you better get to the top, kind of thing. So having that drummed in, I think has been fundamental. She's the one that actually dragged me to taekwondo. I hated taekwondo. She literally dragged me. I'd lock myself in the toilet and she'd like unlock it with a coin and fucking drag me to taekwondo. And I think, you know, my dad's a super passionate guy. He just gets super passionate about the things he loves and super zoned in and focused. So I have his passion when he loves something, and my mum's work ethic, because my mum was working like 2 or 3 jobs, and she was just like on at me about sticking to martial arts and stuff. So as I say, I was a bit nice natured. I was probably bullied more than your average kid. So we'd hang about in like groups of 20, but sometimes they'd turn on you just for fun. I guess it didn't help. I had like a bowl cut and a monobrow and a big mole on my lip, you know, an easy target. But whenever I stood my ground, you know, I'd always win because I'd been doing martial arts the entire time. But I think that's, you know, that's all sort of stuck with me as well. Not that I hold any grudges. Like a lot of these people's, you know, parents were like drug addicts or alcoholics or whatever. So not to say if I didn't run into any of them, I wouldn't fly for them. But you know, it is what it is. But,
and can you remember your first serious fight?
I mean, as I said, it's been obsessively dummy fighting my whole life, but my first serious fight outside, like, I probably can't remember the first one, but one that sticks out is like, I think I'm about 11 years old, and you remember those stink bombs? You'd smack them and they'd inflate, so they'd cornered me in the street, and this kid tried to, he's like a year or 2 older than me, tried to smack me with it, so I've just volleyed it out of his hand, and I got on top and I was punching the fuck out of him, and his friends are trying to drag me off, but he's like, no, just let him, even though I'm just going to town on his face. And I think that was like the last time anything like that ever happened again. I mean, because all of them seen, you know, what happened. But
so that was like a turning point almost.
I guess so, aye. Because it was just through primary school. Like once I got to secondary school, like, it wasn't like that at all. But I was like from like 7 to 11. But a lot of these kids were like 12, 13, 14. So it's a massive size and age difference. As I say, whenever I stood my ground, I'd always win. But oftentimes me and my pals would be like spend the whole day sprinting through the scheme, but that all stuck with me, and I think that's why I train so hard. I don't know if that's done something. I'm thankful for it. I'm super thankful for it.
So it almost provides kind of fuel for your internal fire.
I think so. Not that I sit and think about it, but I think like internally, you know, it's done something. But as I say, like I love my life. I love the life I've created for myself and my routines. I'm super thankful for everything that you know.
And you mentioned that you asked your wife for 3 years almost to kind of, you know.
Yeah.
What does that 3-year plan look like?
So I'm bulking at the minute. I don't know. Well, I've been fasting today, but I've got a bit of bulking left. I'll do a wee photo shoot for like my acting portfolio, and I'll get fit, and then I'll go back to the MMA and trekking. So that's basically Monday to Saturday. It's like wake up, meditation, yoga. As I say, I'm run to work, run to training, run home, stretch, shower, eat, sleep, repeat. That's Monday to Saturday. And it's Monday's MMA, Tuesday's trekking, Wednesday's MMA, Thursday's trekking, Friday will be the MMA. Saturday I'll do some other form of stunt, something or another. Like I'm chipping my way towards the British Stunt Register as well. So that's like you need a swimming qualification and a horse riding qualification, all these things. So I'll probably do that on the Saturdays. Sunday's supposed to be a rest day. Stuff usually comes up on the Sunday as well. So the idea is to do a big enough fight or a big enough film where I get paid enough that I can just do that full time. So instead of working, training, sleeping, it's just training, sleeping. My productivity will shoot through the roof as well. So obviously my kids wanting wife soon. My wife's wanting kids soon. So I said, just let me go ham for 3 years, and we'll worry about kids later. And she's just super supportive. Like I couldn't ask for a more supportive partner. And it just makes all the difference, as I say. So that's what that looks like. Basically chipping towards doing a big enough fight or a big enough film that I get paid enough I can do that full time.
You just want that kind of stability.
And I just want that lifestyle as well. Just a lifestyle, wake up and train, and just any excess time I'm spending time with friends and family and not working. I mean, maybe in between training sessions. So, and I've got bigger and bigger stuff coming all the time. I've noticed when I get the head down and just focus. Anybody who does this will probably realise himself. But if you just write a game plan down and stick to it, magic starts happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't, it's some law of attraction, something or another, but if you're just visualising, you've got the head down, and it's like, I know I've read Andrew Tate's a polarising figure, but he done a wee speech about if a rocket ship's flying to break through the atmosphere, it doesn't stop halfway, it's going to fall. You just keep the head down and you just keep going. So momentum's a beautiful thing. And my life's changed so much, just even in the last few months. I used to have a cheeky drink, you know, and that would lead to smoking, and people would think that's healthy almost to have a wee balance, but I kind of just have a wee bit of something. So I basically don't see anyone anymore. I literally work, train, sleep, repeat, but I know at the end of it it's going to be so much more worth it. You know, when I'm sitting where I want to be, how much better is that beer going to taste? Do you know what I mean? Or how much better is that fag going to taste? So that's
one thing that I've found with alcohol among our kind of age group is that it just takes so much out of you that you don't even realise, because the older you get, you can't quite handle the hangover the next day, and it's almost like the next day is a complete write-off.
The hangover stopped being funny after 21.
Yeah.
Like I used to work full time, train full time, and get absolutely mad with it 3 days a week. I'd be out in a club. If I wasn't in a club, I was in a gaff, and I'd still. But you can almost get away with that when you're in your late teens, early 20s. But now it's like I'm rocking up to training, or I was rocking up to training, you know, hungover, getting punched and kicked in the head. It's just not happening. But since being off it, it'll be 7 weeks a few days ago. It's just, I'm just feeling fresher by the day. Like, as I say, the momentum of not taking a rest day is just doing me wonders.
And what do you think it was that inspired you just to almost go kind of teetotal?
Oh, my dad's got an addictive personality, and I definitely have as well. So I'm either...
You're all in, basically.
I'm all in or all out. I'm either an absolute stoter who's just drinking and smoking and trying to train at the same time, or I'm training like a maniac, like an athlete. So I can't have a wee bit of something, as I say. So it's a double-edged sword. That's like, I'd like to be able to go for a cheeky beer with my pals and go to train the next day like a normal person, but I can't. I have to be on the fucking ball, which is good. That means, you know, the people I'm sort of training with or even competing with, I was like, I've got the edge almost, because I don't take that. I can't afford to take that cheeky break. It's not for me. So
you feel like you're ahead of the game.
I feel like I'm ahead of the game. It's took me years to realise that. I've always thought I could balance it and prove myself wrong. So I've got to the point where it's like, I understand myself now, and it's like I just have to be all in. So as I say, how much better is that beer going to taste when I'm sitting where I want to be?
Yeah, no, that's it. you're just edging closer and closer.
Every
Just
day I can literally
yeah.
feel it. I can feel the momentum. I can feel the chip my way, and I love it. Like, that productivity feels so much better than any night out. Do you know what I mean?
And when you look towards the future, how far into the future do you look? I know we mentioned the kind of 3-year plan, so to say, but do you ever look at a kind of 15, 20 year kind of time frame in terms of where you would be at, where you see yourself?
I've always had this mantra since I left school that by 2025 I've secured £10 million by being the #1 superstar in Hollywood for martial arts movies, and in return I'll give the best acting performance in front of the camera that no one's ever seen, and when I'm 28 years old I'll dedicate myself to saving rare creatures. As I say, the ultimate goal is to make enough money to do like conservation projects, some Steve Irwin shit, maybe buy a bit of land, open a wee wildlife rescue centre or something. But I'm thinking, I've broke my life up into phases. That sounds a bit mental. But phase 1 was like school years, phase 2 is like now while I'm working and training. So that'll take me up to like 30. Just work, train, sleep, repeat. Hopefully I get a big enough fight or a big enough film where I get paid enough that I can do that full time. So from 30 to 60, that'll be phase 3. Literally just bashing out fights, films, and that sort of lifestyle. And then for 60 onwards, I don't know, I'll be away in the forest somewhere, like a crazy old man that's been kicked in the head too many times. So I've got my whole life planned out. Obviously, life throws curveballs. I might get hit with a bus tomorrow, we don't know. But this is the game plan.
And working in the kind of the film industry, you must have had a few interesting experiences. Anything that comes to mind?
As I say, anyone who's been on set probably knows the long days on set. They're usually long days. You could be sitting, it looks amazing on screen, that 20-second fight scene or whatever, but you're standing freezing cold. I was in a body bag in one of these movies and you're like trying to not shiver. Do you know what I mean? But if you can, persevere. I'm trying to think of any mad stories for you.
Maybe the film industry just isn't as interesting as people think it is behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think people idolise actors and stuff a bit too much. Like, they're just people. Like, what about the people who are, fighting on the front lines, or like fire service people, or police people, or doctors and nurses, like actual heroes? People idolise this guy who's playing make-believe on screen, do you know what I mean? So and to me it's just like you're just another person. So that's why when I walk on set I'm so chill, because it's like we're here to play make-believe, do you know what I mean? But I love it. If you love drama and school and all that and jump in front of the camera and that's what you want to do, that's what I want to do, as well as mixing the fighting, and that's awesome. But
how does acting compare to real life fighting? Do you get a similar adrenaline rush, or is it just fundamentally different?
I've been making fight scenes in my head like my whole life, almost to the point where my mum took me to the doctors because she thought there was something wrong with me. She actually she told me when you're 11 years old they take you to the doctors and they assess how cool you are. So I'm telling all my classmates I'm thinking I'm Batman, I'm actually something wrong with me. And anyway, he goes to the doctors and he's doing the health check and all that, and then he goes, what's all this about, jumping about crazy and turning lights on and off? Because I had some severe ADHD OCD action going on at the same time. So then I realised my mum had just stitched me up. She was like, there's something wrong with this kid. Turns out, I don't know, it's far too much energy or something. Anyway, I've been making fight scenes up in my head my whole life. So when I'm doing the choreography in a movie, it's played beautifully into, I'm doing this. I was doing it as a kid and I always done it. And now I'm doing it for a job now. So when you've rehearsed a fight scene, especially if it's a big fight scene and some of the hits are real, and you've rehearsed it so well that you almost forget it, this is just automatic now. It almost feels real. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It almost feels like a real fight and the reactions are there, and it's you'll never catch the same buzz as actually having a fight, but it's up there.
It almost feels like a victory once you've nailed a performance.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's just too much fun. It's honestly so much. Remember when you were a kid and you'd just play about, make it this, make it that, and you'd dummy fight, but it's like that, but you're doing it as an adult now, and
And what about the fighting? Do you think you'll go back to that competitively?
I go back to it. So when I was fighting back then, I was a teenager. I'm coming up for 27 now. and my discipline was shocking, but I was still winning fights and fighting on TV and fighting for belts. So now I think with the head screwed on, with proper nutrition, training, recovery, mindset, weight cut, but I used to do stupid stuff. Like I went from 68.9 to 57.4 kilos in 3 weeks, and I was already lean, and I was like fucking up in my diet, and then, you know, I'd starve myself for days, and then like I went to the Gorbals sauna and I'd dehydrate myself, and then drive all the way down to England, because that's where the fights were. Drive all the way down to England, sleep dehydrated, and then wake up and so I'm supposed to fight the next day. So that's just stupid. Like amateur fights, you're fighting the same day as you weigh in. So when I go back to fighting, I'll be fighting at a more natural weight. As I say, it's just really hard, because once you've tested that, it's hard to let it go, especially if you're in fighting age.
Yeah,
it's just in you. It's just like something. I don't know. You need to. I want to do it before you lose the ability to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm almost forced to do it.
You don't want to look back in years' time and say, I wish I'd done this, that, and next thing.
And when I'm on sets, I've always just got this itch. Like, it's not quite. I'm not getting everything I want out of it.
Sure.
So mixing both I found is perfect.
How do you think the fighting itch could be satisfied? Is there something that you could, would it be in terms of winning a title or something like that?
I don't think.
You could be world champion and you still have that itch?
It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
It's just a competitive, as I say, I've just had far too much energy my whole life, so if I'm not training towards something, like, this energy just sits and turns into venom.
Yeah.
So I'm almost forced to do combat sports, which is a blessing and a curse at the same time. Like.
Yeah, of course. It's interesting as well with, you can, maybe it's boxing or MMA, it's one of those things you almost just have to be all in, don't you?
Oh, for sure.
And for the majority of, for a lot of fighters, it's a lot of work for not a lot of financial return.
That's it.
Which is sad. Definitely. Especially I think in the MMA, there's so many people that train so hard.
Definitely.
And they just don't get that reward.
My mindset's totally changed from being like, oh, I need to be UFC world champion and this and that, to like, I'm going to train, I'm going to try my best. And that mindset switched from like, if I don't get these goals, this title and that title, or smash this movie or that movie, then my world's coming to an end. It literally doesn't matter. I'm trying my best. Yeah. And whatever happens. Like, success is like, whether you're successful or not successful is not your business. It's nature's business. Your business is just to strive for what you want. So if your competence and capabilities there, success will happen as you deserve it. So we're letting go of all the outcomes. You know, now you're training for fun. I'm trying my best. Doesn't matter the outcome. I'm training for fun. And for me, that works so much better, because I'm training with a smile on my face. Then I'm loving it. I love every part of my day. Even my day job, I'm cleaning tables in a cafe, but the whole time I'm visualising, I'm rehearsing fight scenes, I'm going through sequences in my head. So
it helps as well when you've got something to kind of to keep you going. As you said, even if you're in a job that you might not necessarily like, or it might not be your ideal job. If you've got something to work towards, then that always kind of fuels you on, motivates you to do it. Definitely. Just to like carry on, doesn't it?
Definitely. As I say, I love my day job. It's a means to an end. You know, it pays for my nutrition, training, recovery, and it finishes at 6 o'clock, which means I can catch training. It's in the city centre. It's perfect. It's a cafe, it's free coffee. Yeah. I'm a caffeine fiend, so I'm like 8 espressos a day, I'm running about crazy, I'm training like a maniac. So as I say, I've got my routine down. I love my day job, I love my morning routine. I just love the feeling of chipping away every day, you know what I mean? And I think enjoying your day job is super important. If that's like 80% of your day or whatever time you're working in, like, you better enjoy what you're doing. That's a long time to be doing what you don't really want to do. Yeah, definitely. I mean, maybe the money people get from, you know, working a job they don't necessarily like is worth it, with the free time and all that excess money. But you know, people think I'm crazy that I want to work this simple job. Like, I've been asked to be like, do I want to be part of management and stuff, and it's just, I've got my routine down. I like visualising and cleaning tables.